Our next story is Hamlet by William Shakespeare.
To be or not to be?
To be or not to be, that is the question.
To be or not to be?
To be.
Not to be.
To be or not to be?
To be or not to be?
I don't know if I should be or not.
Oh, to be or don't to be.
To be or not to be?
Your bride to be or not to be? That is the question.
No longer shall we suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous Catalina.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous prices.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune.
To be, not be, not be, not.
You know, I thought a couple of times about whether I wanted to be or not.
You did?
Yeah.
To be or not to be.
To be or not to be.
Excuse me. That, pardon me, is the excuse me. Question.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune,
Or to take arms against a sea of troubles.
And by opposing, end them.
To die. To sleep. No more.
And by asleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks.
The flesh is air to... 'Tis a
consummation devoutly to be wished.
To die. To sleep.
To sleep. The chance to dream.
And there's the rub.
For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when... we have
shuffled off that mortal coil.
Mortal coil.
Mask, give us pause.
There's the respect that makes calamity. So long life!
For who would bear the whips and scorns of time? The oppressor's wrong.
Proud man's consumer, pangs of despised love, the law's delay,
the insolence of office and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus take.
But he's fair, bare. What kin?
Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after
death, the undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will,
and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of.
Thus, conscience does make cowards of us all.
Thus, unconscious doth make strange bedfellows of us all.
And thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought.
And enterprises of great pitch and moment, with this regard their currents turn awry and lose the name of action.
And enterprises of great pitch and moment, with this regard their currents turn awry and lose the name of action.
Nymph, in thy orisons be all my sins remembered.
To be... or... I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh, boy. That great stuff. Very deep, very emotional. But what me like best is that Hamlet is Prince of Denmark. Because that make Hamlet Danish. And me just love Danish.
You know your Hamlet?
Last week we had Hamlet.
Well, certainly you must have heard of Hamlet.
Quite right, Hamlet.
Hamlet soliloquy. I did Hamlet a while back.
Si vous avez une femme et des enfants, vous ne pouvez pas écrire Hamlet.
Welcome to Elsinore.
They weren't looking for the definitive Hamlet.
There's an infinite number of monkeys out here who want to talk to us about this script for Hamlet.
I'd like to ask your opinion about a problem in Hamlet.
Who was Hamlet?
It could be Hamlet. I laugh at Hamlet.
One of my most treasured memories is of Irving playing Hamlet.
Saw Hamlet at the Globe Theater.
Hamlet, my mother the car.
Hamlet, War and Peace.
Hip-hop, jazz, and Hamlet.
Hamlet, West Side Story.
Prince of Denmark.
Hamlet and Ophelia.
Hamlet's basically a teenage boy.
A girl wants Romeo, not Hamlet.
You are not King Hamlet.
You're not Prince Hamlet.
I am not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be.
There is now being presented at a theater on 44th Street the uncut version of Hamlet.
That is for Ken Branagh's endless uncut 4-hour version of Hamlet.
It's Hamlet.
You're reading Hamlet.
Look, Hamlet.
You fucked up now, Hamlet.
The idea that two grown men hitting a tiny ball with metal sticks is the equivalent of Hamlet?
I have spent half of my life playing Horatio to your third-rate Hamlet.
He proves by algebra that Hamlet's grandson is Shakespeare's grandfather.
The death of his son, Hamnet, is interesting when you think he wrote a great play called Hamlet.
Who wrote Hamlet? You wrote the Pope's cousin, Count Popula, a magical monster with pencils for arms.
I'll be honest, Mr. Lynch. I made that one up.
Hamlet will be back in Thunderball.